Hi, good morning, it's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. I guarantee you after this video you might be feeling a little bit more depressed than what you was maybe when you first started listening to it, but you will, I believe, agree with me on some of the subjects that I'll discuss. So I thought I'd do this as a little bit of a change as to talking about, that rare event that nobody really cares too much about these days, and that is the magnetic pole shift, and the fact that even though we've only been on this planet 42,000 years as a species, Homo sapiens, so they say, this event is even rarer than ourselves. 780,000 years ago was the last time the Earth went through a magnetic reversal. But it doesn't matter because, even though we've only been on this planet 42,000 years, and even though in the last 50 years we've become technologically advanced, we've become immune to the things that are going on, even though they are predictable. I'll give you a few examples. I'm sure most of you that will be watching this video have been around for longer than say 30 years, and will have noticed that when we're listening on the news or the radio, it's common to hear a company going bankrupt and thousands of jobs going to the wall. We hear this every month nearly, but we never hear of a company starting up and creating, thousands of jobs, because those days are long gone and buried. I think you'll agree with me. And the reason for that is our technological advancement. You see, technology takes jobs away from the market, the capital system, and usually they don't come back. I mean, can you think of some of the jobs that used to be there, but technology has replaced them? Paper clerk, it will soon be the train driver, the pilot. We're already phasing them out with autopilots. And it won't be 10 years' time before the logistical drivers, truck drivers, taxi drivers, etc., are gone. Those jobs will be gone as well. But my point is this, is that we're in a capital system and nothing has even emerged on the scene that will replace it for us. And if we live in a capital system where we need to obtain money, where we sell our labour, or we get benefits, or for those people that are brave enough that don't mind the idea if they get caught, they spend time in jail with it, stealing, those are pretty much the only ways of obtaining money in this day and age. But when you have no money, how are you supposed to participate in this monetary system that we're in? And if the technology is taking the jobs away at an alarming rate and nothing's being done, then that means only one thing, that the majority of us will be without funds. How do you participate then in the monetary system? You may have a job right now, but so much is attacking the working industry right now that it won't be long, and it's very foreseeable. You don't need a crystal ball to see that those jobs are going to go too. And what I'm talking about is this, new religion, CO2 causing global warming, changing global climate. And just think about it. We have already discovered here on this channel and on other channels, there are a lot of scientists like myself that have been screaming for years now that they're telling lies, that the data that they're showing has been, manipulated to bring out the trend. It's been cherry picked, and in a lot of cases, these organisations that are producing the data have all got together and said, look, we need to produce the same data. We can't just keep producing different sections of the same years of when we're trying to show and bring out the trends of the data. We need to work together so that it is more believable. But the point is this, is that it's a lie from the start, and people, if they don't go along with this lie, lose the jobs, or they don't get the funding grants to carry on in the research. That's the world we've already emerged into. We're not emerging into it, we have emerged already into it. And the majority of human beings don't care, because they think to themselves, so long as I'm in my little bubble and things are barely working for me right now. That's good enough. So we no longer, and we haven't for a long time, worked together to resolve issues, and these issues are only going to get worse. I use the analogy regularly that we're standing on the track, we see the train coming, and nobody wants to move out the way. And, well, someone even said it in the comment section, "Are you kidding, Gene? It's not the fact that they want, that they see the track coming, it's they're prepared to see the family get squashed by that train and themselves." And, this is where we are today, in a society that doesn't care about others and more so themselves. I said years ago these problems were going to creep into our living rooms, and by God have I proven myself right with that. If you saw the rate of the last 24 months of divorces and relationship breakups, you would understand that this situation that we're all in right now, and this time that we're all in right now, there is something very seriously wrong with it, and it is going to get worse. We used to have lobbyists from oil, companies lobbying governments to allow them licensing for, drilling crude oil and things like that, and they used to be the ones that would probably lobby against wars with things like Iran or Iraq, because those countries have a lot of oil. But things have changed. The lobbyists now aren't just coming from one sector, they're coming from a multitude of sectors. But the problem is that they are coming from just probably 5 or 6 companies that own many, many companies. They're super companies. And we know who these are very, very clearly. They get mentioned regularly. They own all the food, all the technology, etc., etc. And it's very dangerous, because it's these people now that are billionaires that own these companies. They're billionaires, and they are the ones that are reshaping the future for us. And I do see a pattern, with people like Bill Gates. They have a lot of money, they realise they've got a lot of power, and that they can change things, and that they become sociopaths. They believe that their way is the right way, and only the right way. And so they start to manipulate the world that we all live in. And they're these are greedy people, corrupt people that have, managed to manipulate systems to get where they are. And in every aspect, these are the worst people, to put in trust of taking humanity in any direction of the future. Yet nobody seems to turn a blind eye or care, or they even feel powerless to do anything about it. And it will get to a point where maybe people do try. That is if, whatever happens to us from, now till that point, we don't end up so suppressed that we behave like the Jews did back in the Second World War, or just before the Second World War, where first of all, they had their businesses taken off them. Second of all, they was all squashed up into a ghetto, and then they was selected for work or, for death. And, people think that is impossible to happen. This new generation, I clearly see, don't believe that is even possible. But let me tell you this behaviour that was done by human beings, horrific behaviour that was done by human beings, was only done less than 100 years ago, less than 90 years ago. So we can't have changed that much in that space of time. People can still behave like that, and we haven't certainly evolved not to behave like that. And the worrying thing for me is that the majority of these young generations that are living with us now, and we get a few of them on this channel because they're not interested in technology and science and, as they would say, boring things like that. They're more interested in their mobile phones, their apps, and doing what they do these days. But we are facing a time where this generation don't understand what war is, and don't understand what behaviours human beings are really capable of, and the people that witnessed it are very few and far between now. Most of them have passed away through old age. So, we are in dangerous times, not just because of the world and nature that is changing. We're in dangerous times because of our behaviour and lack of respect for our history and the lessons that we've learned to this point. And that is largely down to people being ignorant, not wanting to participate, not wanting to change things, and allowing, the situation to go unchecked, uncontrolled, and at some point out of control. So we are, and we don't need a crystal ball. We don't need to look through the book of Nostradamus to know where we're going. We are going in a specific area where humanity is going to start revealing, these horrors that we have seen recently in our history again as a result of this. It's taking place right now, guys. It's taking place in Africa. We are still seeing in some parts of the world, ethnicity cleansing and brutal murders. And it's going unchecked. I mean, if we look at recently in the news, I think it's Myanmar, where, the army general or commanding officer of the army has taken over the country and has ordered the fighter jets to attack the protesters. So, that's the time, that we live in. And as an evolved species, not completely evolved, I will say that, but an intelligent species, we're allowing these things to go on. And we haven't worked out our differences, even though we are only separated by, borders in some cases, but in other cases, oceans. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? When we see these natural disasters happen, and in a night there's been a flash flood in a village, and it's displaced 100,000 people. And then we see on the other hand earthquakes that have done the same thing, and then we see wars that have broken out, and we witness Texas in the United States a month ago experience a 1 in 30 year or a 1 in 100 year Arctic cold snap that puts the grid down. And the point is that all those people in all these atrocities or catastrophes say to themselves, I never expected this to happen. And that is the common thing that people say. I bet you, when people were being squashed into the ghettos in Poland during the Second World War, those Jews were saying the same thing. I never expected this to happen. But if we just keep our heads down and don't argue, we will live a bit longer and possibly survive this. But it's not the nature of the beast, is it, to let up? It continues. We saw in Poland the death factory, being built and being used on, millions of people. Auschwitz, a factory that was built purposely to kill people efficiently. And you can research this on YouTube. You'll see plenty of videos of Auschwitz, the gas chambers, the murder camps. This behaviour wasn't that long ago in our history, and we see it back here today, slowly emerging. If you think I'm exaggerating in any way, well, first of all, it wasn't that they was all put in a ghetto straight away. There was suppression of freedoms, and that's exactly what we see today. It seems like, to me, there is a massive psyop going on. And, even though I predicted, it would destroy families years ago, to see it doing it right now is, one of those things that you wish never you knew about. But obviously, because you could see it in the fabric of, the modern world, you knew it was going to happen. And, if there is no unity in a community, and there is no unity within our neighbouring streets, and there is no unity within the platonic family, then there is no unity, or there is no opposition to any of the decisions that are made at government level. And therefore they are allowed and have been given the go-ahead to do whatever they want, and we will see the changes happen fast as a result of that. Greed, wickedness and corruption are not the way forward for humanity. Those are the things that we should be ironing out of this fabric and at this time. But it seems that nobody wants to take up the role in doing that. And, there has been a book in print for many thousands of years. It isn't just King James Bible I'm talking about, because if you read that Bible and then research some of the religious texts of even older civilizations, you will see the same story being repeated throughout time. So it goes back more than thousands of years. It goes back many thousands of years. You will see the warning signs in these textbooks saying that when man's heart becomes wicked, corrupt and greedy, that's when, the natural disasters have happened in the book, like Noah's floods, Sodom and Gomorrah, and a time promised for us in the future. And it will be for nothing short of those horrible traits that human beings can resort to at that time. And we are witnessing them right now. Let's talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Same-sex relationships, men sleeping with men, women, and it was even mentioned in that book that men slept with animals as well. But we can definitely associate with a few of those things. That city, as a result of those crimes against God's will, was destroyed. And, I don't know whether it's a specific God that you've got, or you believe in Mother Gaia or Mother Nature, but whatever it is you believe in, if it's in that realm of nature and things like that, you have to realise one thing, that as a human being, you are part of it. You are, after all, just a species like any species on this planet. We are just one of those species that happens to have the ability to create tools for ourselves and use those tools to the point where we have the technology that we've got today. And really speaking, we should be better stewards as a result of that intelligence than what we are right now. But if 80% of the world's life and species reside in the oceans, and we poison them oceans the way we are, we should be pretty much ashamed of ourselves. Because if we was in a room with those other species and they was able to communicate at the intellectual level that we are able to with each other, we would be shamed and not allowed to do what we are doing, not just to ourselves but to the planet. But we live in a day and age where even the topic of the Grand Pacific Ocean garbage patch and all the other patches around the world that are toxically poisoning our oceans and our lands and our freshwater lakes is just merely frowned on today. And please, I've got too much in my own life to even consider what you're talking about, Gene. It is too much for me to carry that around as well. Well, that attitude doesn't fix or resolve any of the problems we face. And like we know, the monetary system that we're all participating in is destined to fail because of technology takes away jobs, and the ability therefore has gone for us to earn money. And then you add on top of that one other simple little thing, which again is not being regulated, and that is population expansion. There is dark times arriving, if they're not already at your front door already. Guys, just a little bit of a rant about the level of funding for our observatory. It almost came to a flat line. The heartbeat virtually stopped a few weeks ago for our observatory, which really has inspired me to continue with some of the plans to raise some alternative funds for the observatory myself here. But if we could raise some funds for the observatory to try and keep it ticking over, at least until maybe some of these ideas I've got here that are coming together very quickly arrive, that would be great. And the link's down there if you want to help support us. And I'm also really interested in your comments on this video. So I'll say what I usually do, guys. You look after your loved ones, take care, and as always, bye for now.